listening to Revolution Rampage. I'm Omar.
Zach?
Jeff.
Amanda.
And today with us is Calder Cup Champion, reigning Calder Cup Champion, and Carolina Hurricanes goaltender Alex Nedeljkovic. How are you today, good sir?
Hey guys, things are going well, as good as they could be.
So as good as it could be is a understatement considering everything is on hold or canceled. So the checker season, the AHL season is now over, and that means that the Charlotte Checkers are still Calder Cup champions, technically. How do you feel about that?
Did they announce that the season was over?
Oh
Yeah.
boy. Yeah. They
What?
announced that they ended the season a couple of weeks ago. I guess they
I thought they
never
just
said.
postponed it.
They postponed it at first for everything, so AHL, NHL,
Right.
ECHL, but then they sent out. They said that it started from the lower leagues, so the ECHL and the SPHL were the first to kind of like cancel the leagues completely, say that they're done. The Hockey USA did the same thing, as well as the Canadian leagues. But then AHL came out and said that they were done for this season. They were going to focus on ensuring next season starts on time. So
I
I
missed
It
hate
that.
was
I hate that this is
officially
how you
announced
get
on
the
the
news.
16th.
I
On the
really
16th.
Um,
I really hate that this is how you're finding out, Ned.
Well, I kind of honestly, I was that's where my head was at. I kind of thought our season was going to be canceled, just like you said, the way that everything else was trending. Um, it was just kind of unfortunate. I thought we were actually kind of on a bit of an upswing there. We got off to a rough start at the beginning of the year, but we kind of came together as a group and we were starting to play a lot better. And it was going to be an exciting run down the stretch there. So, but it's still good because, as you said, we're still the defending champions going into next year. So I think we should plan another parade and maybe have another cup party here one of these once the quarantine and everything like that is all over.
Social
I'm all about
distancing
partying.
parade.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I mean, why not? At this point, take your
Right.
take your wins when you can get them, especially in terrible times like these. So you have been with Checkers for a long time, and you've seen players come and go. You've seen guys who are now stable NHLers like Warren Fogle, Martin Necas. You've played with them for years. My my question is, of all the guys you've seen come and go, who has been your favorite? The guy you can't wait to get up to Carolina and play with?
Uh, well, that's the thing is like I played with folks for a year, and then his second year pro, he got to stick with the Canes, and then same with Marty. Marty played just his rookie year with us, and then he got his opportunity this year, and it stuck. So I think I don't really want to say that I got a favorite. It was nice seeing both of those guys, and I obviously had a better relationship with the two of them. Fleur was kind of in the same boat. He was with us for the first few years of his career. So I would say I have more of a relationship with those guys than I did with really anybody else, just because you got to spend you spent so much of your time with them when they were down in Charlotte. So I really wouldn't say I have a favorite.
Yeah, there's no reason to have a favorite, but there's a lot of guys that you'd love to watch come up, and you're gonna be one of them when you do finally come up next year. You're gonna be on your second year of this contract, which is a one way deal. So hopefully, and I'm pretty confident about this, you're gonna be a stable part of the tandem come next season.
Yeah, I hope so. That's obviously, like you said, the way that the contract was structured. So we will see. I mean, nothing's ever really given in life and in your career, and this is no exception. So it's I think this is a pretty important stretch of time right here where you really don't have anything going on, so things can easily go one of two ways. They can go south, and you can just kind of sit around and do nothing, and then kind of fall behind the eight ball, or you can try to stay ahead of things and just keep building towards when hockey returns and when next season starts and you get a chance.
So tell the fans really, how are you staying prepared during this quarantine to achieve that when we all get back?
It's been pretty much like a full body workout every day. I don't have access to a gym. I really don't have any gym equipment like weights or bike or anything like that in my new place. So it's been a lot of body weight stuff, a lot of like anaerobics. I've had to go for a run every few days and try to keep in shape that way. So it's been a lot of high reps and a lot of basic exercises, push-ups, sit-ups, body weight squats, things like that. So
I feel you on that one, Ned. I'm a gym buff myself, and I work at a gym, and I took home a bunch of weights. I just ordered some resistance bands, so I've been doing as much as I can myself. So I can feel you on that one.
that's been my thing is I'm trying to start to piece together like just a little setup. I was looking at maybe getting a stationary bike, but I think I got a jump rope, and I think some resistance bands would be really really helpful. That's probably the easiest thing you could do. Just throw it on a door or something, and it's almost as good as lifting weights, just because you got the different weights and stuff, and it's a different feeling. I mean, you would know from
Yeah.
as opposed to doing like a curl with the dumbbell, and then you start curling with the bands. It's such a different feeling.
And it's almost like your own body weight against you at the same time.
Yep. Oh yeah. So piece by piece, we're putting this place together.
Yeah, I get that. As a former athlete myself, it was always fun going from college where you had all the weights and then coming home and you're by yourself and you have nothing to work with, so it's you got to find something to do.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's kind of like this right now. It's just you like you said, you got to find something to do, you know. And then luckily, I like my girlfriend and I. We have a dog, so he's been helping keep me active and taking him on walks throughout the day when it's not raining. So it's just trying to find something to keep you going and keep you active.
Yeah, speaking of things that keep you going, you do a lot of streaming on Twitch, a lot of Fortnite play. How did all that get started for you?
Well, I was always a big video game guy. And I played different games throughout the years. It started with Call of Duty, and then I got into Rainbow Six Siege for a year, and I was playing with my buddies and my brother. And then when Fortnite came out, I kind of started playing that a little bit, and it kind of stuck. It was so different from every other game at that time, and it was so unique. So that's kind of what kept me to Fortnite, and then the streaming part of it all. I just as the more I learned about it, the more I actually enjoyed watching certain streamers, and I'm like, that'd be something cool to do. Like, and at the time, or when I first started doing it, I was like, let's just do it, and then try to just grow and like become this top notch streamer. And then the more I did it, the more I realized I'm not that good. So I'm not gonna ever be this top notch streamer. So I just now it's kind of for fun, and it's actually for I'm doing it now for fans to try to just give a little insight into what kind of everyday life is for me. And I mean, just show people that it's not just hockey that guys are into. Like, we're great athletes and all that, but at the end of the day, we're still human beings, and there's more to our lives than just the few hours at the rink that we spend each day. So I mean, we don't have I have my girlfriend and my dog right now, but a lot of guys obviously are married, they're older, they got their families and kids and things like that. So everybody's outside life is so unique in their own way, and for me, this is just a way to kind of get away from the hockey world a little bit, and I can just have some fun on my own. And if you guys ever watch the streams, you can see that sometimes it's not very fun because I'm not really good, so I just get frustrated with it. But it's just been just another way to kind of connect with fans and things like that, and especially in a time like this, like I've got nothing else going on, so hopefully it kind of can take everybody's mind off of what's going on in the current time.
So I'm gonna
Yeah,
ask a question that everyone's probably gonna ask you. Have you played with anyone else on the team? I know Sebastian Aho and Tavo, they both play Fortnite. Ever played with them?
No, I haven't played with anybody. The few times that I've been up and things like that, we've chatted about it, but I think Seabass got away from it. At least we were talking about when we at the end of the before the pause there, we were talking about it a little bit, and he said he got away from it. And I hadn't really talked to Turbo much about it. So I haven't gotten a chance to play with any of those guys yet. Now I know Pesh is big into it too, but he was hurt, so I really didn't get to see him much. Obviously, when I was up there too. So
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see how things go. And that goes with being like just building a relationship with guys. The more you get to know them, and then things grow from there.
That's important. I think people take a lot of the relationships they see on the ice for granted, but they don't really understand. Like, just like school or work or any other environment, like the team relationship between players is huge. How does a guy like Rod Brindamore and the coaching staff over there, how do they facilitate that? Because you saw guys like David Ayers coming out of nowhere and immediately build rapport.
Yeah, and honestly, it's like Rod and the rest of the coaching staff. They do a great job of just when somebody comes up or somebody new comes in, they're talking with you and they're trying to bring you up to speed with who's who, what's going on, and what their plans are for you. But it's more of in terms of building relationships and things like that. That's just straight the guys. Like that's just the kind of group that you get. And there was a really good group in Carolina there. We had, guys would come in, like when Shazy came in, it was just like the next day it seemed like everybody, he'd been there the whole year. And same thing with Tro, like he was there the whole year. Sammy, like even Sammy, when, he was hurt, so he wasn't skating with us at the time, but you would see him in the trainer's room every day, and, guys would be talking with them. And it's just like, it's easy once when you've got that many guys that just want to embrace you and kind of bring you into the group, and just that they want, because that's such a big part of having a winning culture and a winning team is you want to be around guys that you enjoy and you want to win for those guys. And that's what I can't say enough about the group that we had in Charlotte when we won last year was everybody liked everybody and everybody wanted to see so and so succeed, and it didn't matter if somebody scored 30 goals and this guy scored 5 goals, like didn't matter who scored, didn't matter what, like everybody was just happy to see everybody succeed. And I think that's the biggest thing that this team has had the last few years is it's been like just a total transformation from one kind of way that the team was going to now where it's like everybody's kind of on board and everybody wants to see everybody succeed.
I can
speaking
relate.
of,
Oh, go
go
ahead,
on,
Zach.
Jeff. No,
All
you
right.
first.
So I can relate with what you're saying that I used to be part of a professional organization while stationed in the military over in England. And team chemistry is one of the key things. If you bring in the right people, you see that flourish on the ice, not only on the ice, but in the locker room and when you're hanging out with them outside of the ice hockey rink or outside of the ice hockey world. And the friendships that they built helped them lead into a championship season. So yeah, definitely a lot of that on and off the ice relationship is key when it comes to teams like that.
Oh yeah, and you see it like every team does it. Every team has their own ways of building that camaraderie. Um, I don't know if I said that word right, camaraderie with each other. Like I know at the beginning of the year they were doing some things away from the rink. Like I think they went paintballing this year. or something like that, or like even just team dinners when you go out on the road, things like just something like that where you're away from the rink, so there's no like now you have to talk about something else, and it just that's where the relationships really build and really start to kind of solidify is away from the rink.
You talked about seeing all your friends down in the Checkers succeed. One of the more recent events, Morgan Geeky got called up. You were with him on the ice for the game in Pittsburgh to see him really start becoming one of his own in the NHL. How was it to see that from your point of view?
Oh, that was awesome. That was I was really happy for him, and at the time when I found out the news that he was coming up, I was excited. I was texting him, just trying to give him the info and stuff, and went and just make sure he knew everything that was going on for that day, because it was a pretty quick turnaround. Like they were playing that night, like it was a Saturday night. They had a game at 6 o'clock, and I think he got told like right before the game, like you're not playing because you're getting called up, and then we had a 1 o'clock game or 1:30 game in Pittsburgh that next day. So he flew in late Saturday night. I don't know if he even saw anybody at the hotel when he got in. So I was just kind of texting him like, hey, their breakfast is at this time from here to here. And then, we'll do meetings and stuff at the rink and all that later. So I got to see him the next morning and just kind of talk with him about what's been going on, what's been going on. And, the rest I didn't really have to teach him, or not teach him, but coach him on anything. For me, I was kind of struggling a little bit too. So I was trying to find my own way, and it was just get out there and go play and then do what you do. I mean, there was a reason why they called your name when somebody got hurt. So and then obviously he went out there and he had put up a really good showing, 2 goals and an assist. And, you couldn't have asked for much more than that in your first game. And then the second one, he follows it up with a first shot of the game, and it goes in. I think he was 3 for 3 in his shots at that time. So
He was. In fact, there was a lot of discussions online and Twitter, social media, is if he would ever miss on a shot. He eventually did later that second game against Detroit, but he has been an incredible showing. But that kind of shows you really the camaraderie and stuff that comes up from Charlotte. And you guys had in Charlotte after the trade deadline, you guys saw a lot of people get lost in trades. How was that really? Well, you got called up, so you didn't really get to immediately see it. But how do you feel for the team down there after you pretty much got decimated in because of the trades and movements?
Oh yeah, well, like you said, it was almost a completely different team. It was just a few days before the trade deadline. Actually, Forrest and I had gotten called up, so we still had everybody from before. We like the team was still kind of like the same format when at the time when we got called up, and like 3 days later, the deadline happened and everything kind of flipped. Well, then when we came back down, or when I came back down, like 2 weeks later, whatever it was, and we played those 2 games. I was sitting in the locker room, and you had Bishop to my left and Lorenz to my right, I'd been sitting next to all year, and then the rest of the room had like been flipped around. It was like learning new. It was like the first day of camp again, like learning new guys' names and trying to get to know these guys and things like that. It was a completely different makeup. It felt like.
Everyone had to wear name tapes.
Yeah, it was like, so when new guys come in and at the beginning of the year, they have you have your nameplates above your stalls and stuff, and they were on the road, so they still hadn't like been able to kind of get set up at home yet. But the new guys like that don't have the nameplates, that don't have their names on them yet, they just have the nameplate that says like Charlotte Checkers on it, so it's got something there and it's just not blank. And there was like 10 of them throughout the room, and I'm like, oh, this ain't helping at all. Like I need to put a name to a face. um, so that was tough, but they were I actually I watched one of the games against Utica, and they played well. The guys played well, and then the 2 games that right before the pause there, we played really well. I know Keith played a great game the first night. We ended up winning 1-0 maybe, or 2-0. I don't remember the score of the game anymore. It feels like forever ago. But then we played really well, and he played awesome. Made some big saves for us, and then the next night we got it out a 3-2 win in overtime, and we played really well for how much of how different the team kind of looked.
That's, I mean, yeah, I mean, but that comes from coaching. Tell us about Mike Vellucci. He went off to the Pittsburgh organization, the Penguins organization, and he was replaced by a new coach. Tell us about the new head coach of the Charlotte Checkers, who he is, and what and he was already there in the organization, and how he brought it all together again.
Yeah, so Ryan Warsofsky was he was our D coach, the assistant coach last year in our run to the cup, and this year obviously he was given the reins when Mike left, and I think he's done a pretty good job. Um, First off, there was a lot of turnover from last year's team, so that's always difficult for I think any coach to kind of handle and to grab a hold of. And then he obviously wanted to leave his own kind of footprint or blueprint on this team, and he wanted to make sure that it was his team, and it wasn't it was going to be. I think he learned a lot from Mike, and obviously being there every day and seeing how successful we were. So he took some things still from things that we did the year before, and then he kind of put his own twist on things. And we started out a little slow, but I think there was just so much going on. You had new head coach, new assistant coach, Patty Dwyer, new like almost a half new roster. There was just a lot of moving parts that still needed to kind of get oiled out and get fixed and running smoothly. And I think in December we really kind of figured it out, and I think we were trending up and trending up. So he done a really good job, and he's got that kind of mindset where he wants to outwork everybody. He's going to be the hardest working guy on the ice. In it, even in practices, like when he jumps in a drill sometimes, and he'll be the hardest working guy. Like he's got his skates, gloves, a stick, and maybe some shin pads on, but he's going to be in the corner, hitting guys, checking guys, slashing guys, like going all out, trying to just push everybody to give their best and give everything that they can in any situation.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out if I'm related to your guys' assistant coach. Me and him share the same last name, and I also have an uncle, Pat Dwyer. So I'm still trying to figure that portion out too.
That's funny. Yeah, small world.
Indeed, it is. Now, one of the big things a lot of our fans were asking us was, one, when did you find out about the David Ayers situation, and what was your thoughts immediately after?
Well, we were playing in Binghamton that night, and it was actually Fours was in, so I was backing up, and then I wasn't. In Binghamton, the benches are so crowded, like you can't. The backup can't. You're not sitting on the bench. You're sitting in the corner. So I was just kind of sitting there watching the game, and then our trainer comes out, or one of our strength coach comes out and says, Rhymes got hurt, Peters in, and then and then he's like, oh, David Ayers is he's the e-bug, he's the emergency backup now, and I was like, oh, he was the e-bug for us in Toronto a few weeks ago, actually, when we played the Marlies. Fours had gotten sick, so he had to be the e-bug for us. So I actually kind of got to know him a little bit there, and it was just kind of funny. It was like, what a coincidence, if you got to use the same team or same organization, and he's gotten to do both teams. But then the game goes on. We're watching we're watching our game and kind of following closely to see how their game goes. And then the next period, he comes back out. Peter's hurt. David Ayers is in the net now, and we're like, no way. And at this point, I think they were up 3-1 too. So and it was in the second period. So there's a lot of time. Things can go wrong really quickly, and I think they kind of did. It was 3-1, and then you looked back 5 minutes later and it was 4-3, and it was just kind of like, oh my goodness, it's gonna be one of those nights where the score went from a 3-1 game to 8-6 game, kind of like they had right before Christmas there. But it was really cool to see. We actually finished early. we finished before their game ended, and everybody was watching on one iPad. We were out in the hallway watching the last 6 or 7 minutes of the game, and when they were winning, I think it was 5-3 at that time, and just to see how it turned out, and that was really cool to see. Well, not only to see how well the team played in front of Dave, but to see him make some saves and to get the recognition that he deserved, and he played well. He made some good saves and held them in there, and really held his own for the time that he was in the net. And it couldn't have been he couldn't have written it any better. I mean, that was just it was something cool to see, and you don't see it often in sports. I think we're the only sport that probably allows just some like a random fan, or not fan, but like just somebody that's not part of the organization to come in and actually have an opportunity to play for your team, to play for the organization, right? And it was really cool to see. It was obviously probably one of the top sports moments of the year so far.
So do you agree with the e-bug rule? I know after that situation, the whole entire NHL was looking at that and saying that they need to change it just so something like that doesn't happen again.
Yeah, I know there was a lot of talk about it and discussions about it, and I don't think they said they weren't going to change it, and I think it's going to be difficult to try to implement something better. Just for example, like in my personal opinion, I don't think it's healthy rotation when you have three goalies out to practice. I think that was one of the not topics, but like an idea that was thrown out there was just carry three goalies now, and whatever, three goalies won't go against your roster spots or whatever. But it's hard to get into a groove when you have three guys, because whether you're going to have one guy is going to take the net or his own net. He's a starter, he's playing the next night, whatever it might be, and then you got the other two guys. Well, now they're at the other end, so you're already taking half the shots when there's just two of you. You got your own net, so you're taking half the shots of a drill, basically. So you put in a third goalie. Now he's going to rotate with the one guy. So now you're taking half of you're taking a quarter of the shots, and it's just like you got to go in. You have to like try to make sure even it out. Like, all right, I'm going to do. You count in your head, and then sometimes like the drill runs a little longer. Sometimes the drill runs a little shorter, and it's like, all right, well, if a drill runs short and I just hopped in and I only got 3 reps as opposed to the 6 or 7 that I probably should have, I would have gotten if it ran a little longer. It's tough to balance that out. And I don't think that I don't think that they found a way to keep it consistent throughout the league, that everybody's going to be able to have a legit third goaltending option like for that night. Because it's the best hockey league in the world, and everybody that's playing is on a roster for a reason, because you're one of the top players in the world. And it's just it's something that doesn't happen very often, right? Like, it's not often that you're going to have both your goalies go down in one game, and it was just one of those days or it was one of those nights that it did, and Dave was there, and it worked out. So I think if it had went the other way and it didn't work out, that there would have been some changes probably made. But because it did work out, I think that they were okay with it being like it is, because, like I said, it's such a rare occurrence to have and to happen, that there really is I feel like they don't think that there's enough reason to put more resources or more thought into it than what they already have, for now at least.
What were your
Then that's
thoughts?
just total speculation on my part. So
Yeah. What were your thoughts how long did it take them to call you and tell you, hey, you're going? Um, and the thoughts of that night, did you go say, hey, yeah, I'm ready to go? Or
well, they the next morning, Warzy pulled Forrest and me aside and said, we were going to go up, and they, both guys had gotten hurt, and it was going to be a little bit of time, obviously. So he kind of filled us in a little bit. We didn't really find out the exact travel plans till like a little bit sometime in like the early afternoon that following day, I think they were flying back from Toronto that night, and then the next morning, I'm sure they Ryan and Peter went to go see the doctor, so they wanted to just get we were both off that day, and neither of us played until Tuesday, so it was like there was no real rush to get us in that day because nobody was going to be skating. So, they called and said your flight's at this time. Go to the hotel, and and we'll see you tomorrow for practice. And that was pretty much it. We got to the rink, and we got our gear set and straight, and just said, hey, we kind of knew everybody from camp, so it was just more of saying, hey, kind of touching base with the coaching staff, and then you see the guys in the room and things like that, and that was about it. Then life goes on as a normal practice day from there.
Yeah, and things went well for you while you were here. You had a couple of really good performances. You got to hang out with Amanda at the bash, playing some games.
Hey,
Well,
and
yeah,
Harmon
it
missed him too.
Yeah, it was a good time. We obviously Forrest and I both got to hop into some action there, and it started out a little rough, but we got a good point in Montreal, and towards the end of that road trip that we went on, we started out a little rough, losing to the Philly, but coming back and beating New York, beating Pittsburgh. That was a good 2 games for us there, and then obviously the guys kept it going, beating Detroit. So it was. It started out a little slow. You would always like to see things go a little bit better, and even at the end there, you still think you can do better. So, but overall, I was for the most part happy with how things went. And like you said, we got to take part in the casino night and get to see you guys and see other people, and just build relationships there, and just kind of get to meet people away from the rink or off the ice, and kind of let people know what you're like as well off the ice.
Ned, there's been a lot going on. I've got a question for you. You watched it from the bench because Forsberg was in net for the Islanders, correct?
Yep.
So you watched it from the bench. Was it a high stick or not?
Yeah. Don't get him in trouble.
It's what's done is done. He can't change it now. So if I said it was a high stick, then it wouldn't matter. If you look back at it, it's a tough angle. There really isn't a great camera angle that is right dead level with it. At the time, because I was in the corner, actually, it was a similar set. It was one of those setups where, again, the benches were a little small, so the backup had to sit in the corner. And I'm looking at it, and it happened right in front of me. And I don't even remember seeing Svetch hit it with the high stick. I think it was Svetch or Tro. I forget. I honestly forget now.
I think it was Svetch. I think Tro's one who ended up scoring after the fact. It.
Yeah. So it was weird at the time. I didn't know what they were reviewing when they when they said, hey, plays under review. I didn't know what was going on, and then I see them looking at Svetch's high stick, and I'm like, you can't the thing for me that I thought at least was you were only allowed to review a high stick if that player had tipped or deflected the puck into the net with a high stick. So Svetch, let's just say he did. It was a high stick. So he high sticked it at the net, but it didn't go in. It made a save or it got deflected off of somebody and found its way to Tro. So, and then Tro buried it. So Tro put it in legally. So he scored legally. The play before that was, whatever, was illegal or not legal, or illegal or legal. But I didn't think that you were able to review that previous play. So I don't know.
That was actually a new rule. That was actually a new rule added to this season. In fact,
so you can review that play leading up to the goal.
Yeah, so it was reviewable. Okay. So there's a lot of argument. Hey, was it just a blown dead whistle or something actually missed? But now they're saying because Fetch was leaning forward, the stick wasn't over his shoulder as he stands up tall.
I'm going to lawyer up for you, Ned, and defend you on this, and I'm going to say if the stick don't fit, you must have quit.
You know what?
Yeah.
That didn't work so great for the last guy, so I'm going to.
Yeah.
I,
All right, moving
you know,
on.
I,
Moving on from that.
yeah. To me, it was they counted it as a goal, so I'm gonna say it was a legal play, and
It's 2 points.
video. Yeah. So we got 2 points. That's all that matters with that for us. So
And that game kind of puts Carolina in a playoff spot. That goal does, if my math is correct. Otherwise, the Islanders would have the extra point if they turn around and score the other end, and the Islanders would be in a playoff spot, and the Canes might be in the wild card spot, or might even be out of the playoffs, depending on how Columbus would have done afterwards. But we don't know how the season ends. So my question now is, how do you think the season should end for the NHL? Say Reimer's not ready yet. They want you up there. How would you like to finish out the season?
oh, I mean, even if I'm up there or not, like it's I like there's so many different ways you can do it. I don't know if like any way you do it, it's not going to be fair to the teams that don't make it because the on both sides, the East and West, that wild card race is so tight and there's so many teams that have a legit chance at getting into the playoffs, and that's all it is these days is you just need to have it. You just need to be in, and once you get in, anything can happen. You saw that, like we saw last year with Columbus, they beat Tampa in the first round, and you just need to get in. Like so, for me, I think it would be tough to just start the playoffs tomorrow. Just say tomorrow, like if the season got up and going. I think it would be tough to say, hey, we're just going to cut the regular season where it is and start playoffs because it's going to be even now 3 weeks without a game. And then now you're going to be expected to go into a playoff type atmosphere, playoff type game. And I just think that there's more harm than good can come from that in a lot of different ways. And one especially would be injuries. I just think that it takes a little bit to get into. So now, I think some NHL guys were saying play some sort of like exhibition games or just something like that before the playoffs start. If you were going to just jump into the playoffs. Now only thing with that is, how do you decide who you're going to play? Like how do you set up an exhibition game versus somebody? Like I don't know. There's a lot of things that go on, and maybe another thing I thought was, all right, so what if you just played like up to X amount of games? So everybody's at around 70 games, play up to 74 games. And some teams might have 4 games to play, some teams might have 2, some might have 1. And it's not going to be the most fair thing, obviously, but I think that is, for me, I think that's a way that you can make it as fair as possible because it gives everybody everybody is then going to be at an equal amount of games going into the playoffs, right? Like, so when the playoffs are decided. And I don't know. And that you could use that as like as your exhibition games. Now, obviously, it wouldn't be fair for say one team only got to for like a few teams maybe only got to play one game and a few other teams got to play 3. Well, how do you justify that? It's tough. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what the NHL comes up with if they want to just jump right into the playoffs or maybe even just finish out the whole season because there was only really like 2 weeks left.
Right.
And so I think you could probably just play that 2 weeks out and just go on from there and start the playoffs after that. You probably would have to condense the playoffs a little bit if you didn't want it to push too or didn't want it to go too long. But I don't know.
How do you feel about a 24-team playoff bracket where there's only 7 teams that miss it, and those are 7 teams that obviously don't have a chance? And I'll use like Money Puck. If you're not familiar with them, they're very good into mathematics and playoff chances. There's 7 teams right now that have 0 chance of making the playoffs, which would give each conference exactly 12 teams. Now the 7 teams would be Buffalo, Ottawa, Detroit, of course, and Anaheim, Los Angeles. I'm fading on the other 2 teams. I'll pull it up right here. But if with that way, would you think that would be fair to have a full 24 team? Because that way, anyone who had a real chance would be in. So, of course, like the Devils would also be part of those 7 teams, and the Sharks. Those are the last 2 teams I was missing.
See, now the thing with that, and I'll also say, like, I've heard things like expand the playoffs to 10 teams on each side, and then you got to figure out, how you get it down to even numbers and how the numbers work out from there. But I personally, I don't like the expanding of the playoff or expanding of the teams that can make the playoffs. This year would maybe be the one exception where I would say, okay, open it up to 10 teams or however many teams you want, because there's so much, like I said, there's so many teams that are right on the bubble of making it. But I don't for pushing forward, for moving forward, I don't like the expanding of playoffs, because I think for me that would take away from like the regular season. So it's like you don't. So if you take 10 and 10, you're over 50, or you're already over. You're at 6. Well, when Seattle gets in, you'll be at right now 16 teams out of 32. So the top 50% teams are going to be like the best half is going to make the playoffs. Roughly. Sometimes, you get those few last place teams on one side aren't as good as the few last place teams on the other side. But for the most part, you've got the top 16 teams in the league. And I think that's all you need. I think if you're trying to go any more than that, and I know a lot of it is making money and things like that. And there's some teams that have bigger markets that are just on the bubble that if they got in, the money would be, there would be that much more money, right? So I get the business side of it, the money side of it. I get that, but I think like keeping the integrity of the game intact, and having the best hockey possible would be, you have your top 8 teams on one side, your top 8 on the other, and they're the ones that are they've earned the right to play on and play those extra games. And that's how it's been for however long now. And even before the new like that format, it going back, I'm sure there was always a way of like these top X amount of teams are going to play. And that's why you do it, because you want to be you play to be the best, and you play to win. And I don't think that teams that are on the bubble, that were there part of the year and then that weren't there part of the year, but then they found it a little bit, I don't think teams like that deserve a chance to play for the Stanley Cup. Like, not saying that not saying that just because, like, for example, last year Tampa was from A to Z, or from day one to day whatever. They're the last day. They were the best team in the league. So yeah, they definitely 100% deserved a chance to play for it. But obviously it didn't work out. So it's like those top 8 teams, you know what you're going to get with those top 8 teams once you get into the playoffs. You know what you're going to get. Very rarely are you surprised when a team underperforms or whatever the case might be. Like, you just know how they're going to play. And I think when you add those extra teams in, like, there's a reason that they weren't in the top 8. Like, there's a reason already. And I think that reason will be amplified in the playoffs, because now it's like, okay, maybe one game they're at this level, the next game they're not at that level. Like, it's just, I think there's too much that they'd be trying to reach for too much to expand the playoffs.
So with that,
I know I ramble on a lot. I'm sorry.
Hey, that's what you're here for. And you're absolutely right. The playoffs have a special part of the hockey world, and you have to earn your way to it. Let's take a moment. Let's scale back a little bit from the serious stuff. Let's go have some fun stuff. We got some questions from our fans on Facebook. Would you mind answering a couple of them?
Not at all.
All right, so let's start with Dean Lefferty. He asks, and this is a fun question: what is the worst mispronunciation of your name that you've ever heard?
Oh, there's been so many. I I know there's been worse ones than what I've like actually remember. it's gotten to a point now where if somebody like really messes it up bad, I just kind of forget about it and like I don't even think about it. Like I don't waste my time like trying to like correct them in my head. Like a popular one would be like Nedeljkovic. That's for some reason a popular mistake that people or a popular way that people pronounce it.
The J gets lost between the L and the K there, so
The
it
J,
looks like an
the
I.
J gets lost. The J gets lost sometimes, and then there's other times where the J is the most prominent letter in that name, like, and then they start moving it from where they are, and then like they forget about the first like the D. That's like Nedeljkovic, like, and I'm like, there you just missed like 4 letters,
So
and it's really not hard to say either. Like it looks like it I get it. It looks intimidating, and then you throw the J in there, and now you're like, whoa, where does J come from? So I can get it, but if you really like look to try to sound it out, and it's like Nedeljkovic, and then you just got to put the J in there. And
Now you say
it's
that,
you say that.
but
We had John
you
Forsland on our last episode. Well, pseudo last episode. We lost the files and mess, but we did talk to John, and we asked John on the team who had the hardest name, and your name came up, and he said the reason why he wants to make sure he gets your name correctly every single time because as a goaltender, when you make a flurry of saves, he doesn't want to shorten your name down to just Ned. He wants to say your full name, but then it's not as easy as saying Ward or Darling or Mrazek. He wants to fully say your name out, and he says that he's afraid it'll get lost as you make a bunch of saves. What would you say to John?
I'd say thanks for trying. I mean, it's like you said, it'd be really easy for him to just shorten it down and just say Ned or like there's a save, like a couple good saves, whatever. Like it'd be really easy to just shorten it down to Ned. And I mean, and I think that just like that kind of shows like how good of a broadcaster that John is, and that's why I think he's one of the best in the league. That to
Oh, absolutely.
to announce and to listen to a game to, and he just he takes the time to get to know everybody on the ice, whether it's Carolina and or whoever is the other side, or even when he does like some of those NBC games and he's got 2 different teams in Carolina. He does his homework and he knows what he's saying, and it's just it's entertaining to watch and to listen to him, and like I said, he does know what he's saying. So to hear him say, hey, I want to make sure I get it right. It's nice to hear, especially when so many people mess it up. It's nice to hear that somebody wants to take the time to know how to say it.
And hockey's one of those sports where so many different last names are so hard to pronounce. I remember announcing a game with a buddy of mine, and 2 of the hardest names I ever had to pronounce in the same sentence as they scored was Kumliskauskis and Pliskauskis. And it was a goal scored by Kumliskauskis, assisted by
Yeah, you're already messing it up.
Pliskauskis. Exactly.
So
yeah, it's tough, but
let's move on to another one of these questions. These are fun questions for the most part. I'm gonna choose some of these you already kind of answered, so I'm gonna choose this one from Paul William Shannon, and he asks, "What is the perfect Fortnite loadout?"
The perfect Fortnite loadout.
Yes.
So I used to love attack shotgun, the tactical shotguns, but I'm kind of getting away from them now because they're so inconsistent in how much damage they deal. I find like at least a pump shotgun, you know what you're gonna get, and there's always like the possibility of a one pump on somebody. So I've started to use a pump shotgun, and then what I like my ideal setup would be like to have a sub, like a blue sub, and a blue AR of some kind. One I don't want to say like blue, but because obviously if I can get a purple or gold scar, then I'd be more than happy to use that. Uh, But I would go pump shotgun, a sub, an AR, and then I don't normally like carrying around an RPG, but if one's available and you have enough rockets, I'm definitely going to be carrying around an RPG for an end game battle, or a heavy sniper. Now, if I pick up an RPG or a heavy sniper, I'm dropping the sub, and I'm rolling with AR, pump shotgun, and then the sniper or RPG, and then my last 2 slots would be for shield and health. So because like you can only use some, like when you're fighting, you're only using one, maybe 2 guns. Like when you go from a pump to your AR or pump to your sub, you're only using 2 guns. So to have like 4 guns in your loadout, to me, doesn't really make sense when you can use that 4th and 5th slot as shield and health of some kind, or all shield or whatever. Whatever. So that's mine. Mine would be, my perfect loadout would be and obviously this is reaching, but a gold pump, a gold scar, gold heavy snipe, 6 minis, and 4 floppers. That would be my loadout.
Not bad.
I have no idea what you're talking about, Ned. I haven't touched Fortnite. I've been playing NHL 20 for a while now, but I think the other game I'm playing is Red Dead Redemption. That's a fun one. But
see, that's like everybody always asks on the streams, like, do you ever play NHL 20? Do you ever play COD? Do you ever play Apex? And it's like, and I don't play NHL. I don't play any of the NHL games because I'm so bad at them. The only sports game that I was ever really somewhat okay at was FIFA. And then when I started playing with my buddy, he was that much better than me, and I didn't really want to like put
everyone's
in
an
the efforts
expert.
to be good at that. So.
Everyone's an expert in single player.
Oh my god!
So.
Funny thing about the NHL 20 question, because I actually asked you that question when you were coming out of training camp,
Yeah.
and you gave the exact same answer.
Yeah, like I don't want, like, I can't play NHL 20. There's too much stuff going on, and that's the same thing with FIFA now. There's too much going on. Like, guys are stick handling and doing all this stuff, and all I know is how to go straight and zigzag when I skate, and that's it.
Ned, it's cool. I'm a goalie myself, and I do the same thing. I don't do anything else except shoot.
Yeah.
On those
games.
Yeah,
that's all I know. Yeah, I can shoot, and I'm not even good at shooting. Like, every time somebody comes down and they shoot from just inside the blue line, they go bar down, and I'm shooting from like the top of the crease, and I miss the net. It's like, all right.
Okay. Hey, you know how to shoot in real life because you have a couple of goals.
It's true.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. It feels like now. I've been on a bit of a cold streak the last few years, unfortunately.
Hopefully you'll get your NHL one. And you'll have the trifecta.
I hope so. It was funny. I was joking with some of my friends, that I didn't score in my last year, my entry level contract. Otherwise, I would have gotten a bigger contract extension. But yeah, it's fun. Yeah, those were 2. Yep.
Oh, I was saying that the video conversation you guys were just having was the nerdiest, most adorable conversation that we have ever had with a guest.
Yeah.
It's true.
It's fun.
I don't think we've talked video games with any other guest. I think
No.
It's also funny because I got a good buddy of mine that runs another podcast, and him and his buddy were talking about who they would like to see during this time frame on playing sports games. And his answer was like, I really don't want to see NHL players attempting to play NHL games because they'd be kind of boring or not sure how to do it. But their best one would be NBA players, watching the NBA players play NBA live.
Yeah, I think he brings up a good point. I don't know how many like NHL players. I mean, I'm sure a lot of the like young guys play it, but
I think Mitch Marner does. I think he's really good at it. That's the only name that I know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it'd be more entertaining to watch the guys play like actual hockey than it would be to watch them play NHL 20.
Get frustrated on a controller.
Aside from like the frustrations that they would get in trying to do something, I mean, I think it goes the same way. It's probably pretty boring watching me play until I start getting frustrated and trying to throw my controller around. But
I mean,
Or
I
can you,
had a theory that all these sim games that the Hurricanes are streaming, they aren't sims. It's you playing.
No, it sure as heck ain't me playing. I don't think I could beat the computer, honestly.
I know another topic they brought up was watching European soccer players play European soccer and then taking all the diving rules off and then them attempting to dive and yelling at each other going, that was a dive. Why didn't I dive in that one? And, it
Yeah.
was one of the biggest laughs because European soccer players would do something like that.
Right. Yeah, that'd be something really good to watch. That I'm sure you get a lot of entertainment out of that for sure.
I think we're getting close to the hour mark here, Ned. So why don't you go ahead and plug in your Twitch? Tell people how and where they can find you and watch you crush Fortnite.
All right. Well, the easiest way would probably when I'm streaming, if you just go and follow my Instagram, it's AlexNed_, all lowercase. If you just go onto my Insta and look at my story, that's when I'm streaming, I'll have the link posted to it. So all you got to do is swipe up and it'll take you to the Twitch website, or you go to my if you go to my actual page on Instagram, I have the link in my bio. It's pretty straightforward. All it is twitch.tv/Ned39. If you wanted to just go ahead and type that in like your search browser. Or if you just go on to like the Twitch app or Twitch website and you just typed in Ned39, you look, I forget what my profile picture I think was me raising the cup. So, I mean, and I have it in
Perfect
my
profile
bio
picture.
there. Yeah, I have it in my bio that it's me and all that stuff. So, the easiest way I think to find it and to watch would just probably be going on Instagram and then just kind of being or going either on my page and following the link in my bio, or if I posted a story saying I was streaming, just go to my story and swipe up on the story there. So I usually stream. I'm streaming now during the weeks from 3 to 6. I didn't stream yesterday. I'm right now. I don't know if I'm going to stream today or not. The weekends I kind of threw up in the air. Just if I stream, then I would let everybody know, obviously on Instagram or not. But it's not something that I'm planning on doing regularly on the weekends, just to kind of get a little me time. So, because it's hard. It's actually like it's hard to stream, and that was another thing when I started getting into it, and I was like, oh, I want to do this, and I want to be a big streamer. Like you need to dedicate. Like that has to be your job. Like as much like for when we play hockey, like we go to the rink and we dedicate hours to like 4 or 5 hours every day to working out, to skating and stretching and all this stuff. Like these, you see some of these streamers, like there's guys that they're streaming already when I wake up, and they're still streaming by the time I eat like lunch, or it's like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So that's what they do, and that's their day. Is they get on, they play, and they're obviously very good at it. So it's more fun to watch them because they win and they can do cool stuff. And I was like, I can't dedicate like 6-7 hours of my day to streaming, because by the time I got home from the rink, it would be like 11:30. Maybe now I can, um, but like on a normal day, I'd get home from the rink at like noon, and I want to eat lunch. So if I got on and played at 1, now if I donated 6 hours to that, now it's 7. Then I got to eat, and it's just like I want to do so much more than just that. Like I want to just lay on the couch maybe and just like watch TV and not have to worry about getting a win or building myself and like in a box and putting on a med kit. I want to hang out with my dog and my girlfriend. Like there's more going on in my life than wanting to play 7 hours of games a day. And kudos to those guys that do it. Like I mean, like I said, they're really good at it and they obviously enjoy it. So
And you got a Stanley Cup Championship to go win soon enough. So there's more to life than just gaming.
absolutely.
Alex
How do I find you?
Nedeljkovic, thank you so much for joining us. It's what you had one more question, Jeff?
Yes, I think the world wants to know this answer. Yes or no, Tiger King?
I haven't seen it yet, so I can't really give you an answer on it. I just
So-
finished watching the McMillion. Have you guys seen the McMillions documentary on HBO?
Yes.
My brother and I just binged watched it yesterday. Basically, we watched like episodes 2, 4, 5, and 6. Like, yeah, the last 5 episodes yesterday. Like, that's crazy. Like, I thought that was pretty cool. Like a really good documentary and like what they did. But like the way that whole thing happened, like that's just it's nuts. Like that's nuts that could have happened. So, but I have not seen Tiger King yet, so I can't give you an answer on that, and then I won't start rambling off about the McMillions thing. But just because it's another documentary, I thought I'd throw it out there that I watch that. And if you haven't seen that, go watch it. But Tiger King is my next one to watch.
Awesome. Hey, Ned, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a great hour or so. I'll stream in and maybe I'll learn a thing or 30 or about Fortnite. And hopefully we'll see you on the ice soon enough. Hopefully we'll see you in Raleigh next season, unless something happens and we need you again. And I think if we do, you're someone we can absolutely rely on to take us as far as we can get in playoffs when they do happen, if they do happen. If not, we'll see you again next season. And let's go Canes.
Awesome. Thank you guys for having me. Really appreciate it. It was a good time.
All right,
Thank you,
thank
Ned.
Oh,
you.
same.
Yeah, it was great. Thanks.